there's always an opportunity to get better for
Hmm.
sport in the most part. And I say that in my real life. Every day that I wake up and I fall in my mirror in the morning, I say, hey, I have breath in my lungs. It's a great day for me to get better. And a motto, again, that stemmed from some of my coaches, seemed a little cliche at the time, but it really hit me as I got older. And it was good, better, best. Never let it rest until you're good is your better and your better is your best.
I'm Julie B., and you're playing the game of leadership. Hey there, I'm Julie B., and this is the game of leadership. On this show, I interview athletes who have become entrepreneurs and business leaders about how their experience as an athlete has elevated their leadership and their businesses. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Travis McClenny to the show. Travis is the founder and CEO of Samaritan Management and Consulting, and before going into business, Travis played basketball at the collegiate level, served as an athletic director, and coached a semi-pro basketball team. I'm so looking forward to this conversation because I know I myself am going to learn a lot about the game of leadership. So Travis, welcome to the show. Thanks for your time today, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Julie B. I appreciate the introduction. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, let's get it started. Tell us about your business. Tell us about Samaritan Management and Consulting and what you all do and what your day looks like there.
Excellent. Um, Samaritan Management and Consulting. I like to call it SMAC for short. I'm sure that's a mouthful. But also it helps people remember my tagline, and that is Samaritan Management and Consulting is going to be smack in the middle of whatever you're dealing with. And whatever you're dealing with, most of the time, often than not, it's surrounded by or pending upon a financial situation. So Samaritan Management and Consulting is an agency that is designed to help people live life abundantly. And then we do that through creating harmony in our community by talking about money matters. Because no matter if you're interested in building a family, starting a business, or even, hey, I want to do some things of my own, you're going to need money, you're going to need resources, and that's what we help people strategize for.
It's so needed, and it's I think having a real world, just a down to earth approach about it, and just a reality check on money matters for your own self is such a needed thing. Do you find that people are afraid though to talk about their money? Do you ever find that in your community?
Very much so. So I will say that growing up, even for my own self, money was not something that was very much so talked about, right? And not just that it wasn't talked about at home, but outside of the home. You don't ask how much someone makes. If they bought something, you don't ask how much they paid for it. It was just certain things that people did not want to have conversations about. And what I've learned is that not to be intrusive in someone's business, so
Hmm.
to speak, but these conversations can be healthy. These conversations can help someone figure out how can I strategize to build generational wealth? How can I create an environment that my home can thrive in? How can I put my children in youth sports and all these other extracurriculars that cost money and take time and resources? These are things that need to be talked about because when I was traveling playing on AAU teams, people just assumed that my parents just had all this money. And it was like, oh, he's traveling, oh, he's on the road, oh, he's got all this gear. But it really took a village. And if my parents had not been vulnerable enough to have conversations with other family members about, the needs for finances, who knows? So I'm saying that these conversations can sometimes be hard to start, but once they begin, a world of opportunity can open up.
It is interesting. We'll circle back to the whole access to sports at the youth level. I actually interviewed Diane Mays, who is doing something very similar. She's making sure diving is available to underserved populations. But I want to circle back to that. But before that, Travis, I want to ask you, what is your favorite part about being a business owner?
So it actually stems off of kindness. My favorite part about being a business owner is being able to interact and work with people and be my true authentic self. There are three things really, that again, my parents instilled in me at an early age: kindness, respect, and education. Mark Twain has a quote that I like, and it says, kindness is a language that the blind can see and the deaf can hear. And I may have said that backwards, but essentially, kindness is a common language that is spoken by everyone. Respect is something that is mutual across all barriers. And education is a powerful passport to the future. So when I think about those three things, I think about what I do and what makes me excited about serving people. I get to
Yeah.
deliver kindness, which is contagious. I get to deliver respect, which empowers other people. And then I get to provide education, which is going to be impactful again as it relates to their finance, to their physical fitness health, in addition to their mental health, which spews out to their families. So I'm very much so excited about helping individuals, families, small business owners live life abundantly and thrive.
And you know what the greatest thing about those three things, kindness, respect, and education, is? What really stands out to me is that it doesn't cost anything to do them. Now, well, maybe education, depending on how you're delivering that, but if you're just having a one on one conversation with somebody and imparting some knowledge that you have that they're seeking, that doesn't cost a dime. And all three of those things you can do without spending any money. It's just a matter of being aware and always having that in the front of your mind. That's really great, Travis. I really love that. What are some of the things that you've done in business, some of your wins that you've had that you kind of see those themes, and what are some of your bigger wins where those themes have shown up for you?
Yes. So the beautiful piece about why I love what I do is because I get to weave in the interconnectedness of sport being a microcosm of society. Okay.
Yeah.
And what does that mean to some people? What happens in sport ultimately is going to happen in the real world. And the tension, so to speak, between the two is important to understand. I say that, for example, when I go back to your question, you asked me what was one of my highlights, right? And I want to make sure I'm staying on task with that question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One of my highlights has been a client came to me, we met rather, and discussed insurance protection needs for him and his family. The client understood the need for the insurance protection, but was hesitant due to the premium that came along with that protection. Again, the beautiful thing about my job is I'm not just an insurance agent. So it wasn't just an insurance sale. I get to use my kindness to say, hey, let's dig deeper than the insurance piece. I have respect for him to say, hey, you understand what you need. So let's figure out a strategy to make that work. Long story short, the client ended up going forward with the insurance premium, insurance policy. Over the course of the following year, we also set up a workout schedule because I'm not just an insurance agent. I'm incorporated mind, body, spirit, athletics, and all those things. We set up a workout schedule. And over the course of the year, he was committed to it. We connected with the insurance carrier and spoke to the underwriter. They did a second medical exam. He had changed his health tremendously. They were like, is this even the same person that we saw last year? Long story short, he listened to me because I was kind, because I gave him a strategy with respect that allowed him to think about it and live his life and protect his family with dignity. That he says, hey, I'm going to sacrifice paying this higher premium for a year. I'm going to work my tail off and get myself into better shape so that I can lower this premium amount and still be able to protect my family. So
Yeah,
I said that to say, to me, that was a win. It wasn't about the
yeah.
sale. It was this person now feels empowered that they can do what they want to do, and that's protect their family. So ultimately, that's the win for me. When I get to see people get what they want, and now his children who don't even really know who I am are going to be beneficiaries and impacted by this someday. That to me is a huge win.
Hey, this is Julie B, and thank you so much for watching the Game of Leadership. I'm here with Travis McClenny, and we were just talking about an example of a win that he has. And Travis, I want to circle back to something you mentioned. We talked a little bit about fear at the beginning, and how you have to overcome fear to talk about your finances, to have real conversations about your finances. How has your experience as an athlete and a coach and an athletic director, all of the things that you've done in sports, how have you been able to take what you learned in sports about overcoming fear and help your, either educate or give your clients some tools and tips to use in terms of helping them overcome their own fears about money?
So as an athlete, my coaches instilled in me that every day is a great day to get better. That was another way of saying we're going to put the work in, we're going to go get our reps in, and we may do an extra set or two because it's important and it's valuable. The practice, the training, everything leads to the game, the competition, and ultimately for a win. So here in the real world, we don't just have, 3, 4 quarters, two halves, depending on what type of sport you're playing, to
Yeah.
decide if we get to win or not, if we get to be successful in life or not. And there's some unique benefits to sport that can help us understand how to maximize our lifestyle. Um, but we have to understand that some economics are at the heart, are at the core of that.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting is in sports, you know another play is coming. You know another practice is coming. You know another game is coming. So there isn't that, are we going to play a game or not, but in our personal lives, what's interesting to me is that even my own self sometimes you don't have that pressure of, you almost have to put that pressure on yourself that it's coming, other than I guess retirement and all of, death and all of that, which is a certainty. In your day to day, though, you have to kind of figure out how to put your own pressure on yourself to make sure that you are doing the steps and doing the things to get better every day. And it's just an interesting. I think if you can take that sports mentality into your day to day, you get that just get the reps in, and every day is an opportunity to be a little bit better than the day before, for sure.
And that's another way that I look at it is, and aside from just putting reps in, as I mentioned from the athletic standpoint, now that I am in business, I actually used a proverb and a metaphor similar to the sower. There was a farmer who was out sowing all these seeds, and it was like, okay, one day, the seeds may not, take root. One day they're going to get withered. One day, something else is going to come by and swoop them up and distract people. But then you're going to land on some good soil, and some people are going to take root, and they're going to listen to what you have to say. And when others see their fruit, unfortunately, sometimes that's what has to happen. That's when the others will say, "Hey, I do want to be a part of that. I do need to tap into that." So for me, it's just keep laying seeds, keep
Yeah.
sowing seeds every day.
Yeah. So, Travis, how has that competitive mindset that you get in sports, how has that helped you in business? And then also on the flip side of that, has it hindered you in business at all? Can you talk a little bit about those two things?
Yes. So for me, again, there's always an opportunity to get better for sport in the most part. And I say that in my real life. Every day that I wake up and I fall in my mirror in the morning, I say, hey, I have breath in my lungs. It's a great day for me to get better.
Yeah.
And a motto, again, that stemmed from some of my coaches, seemed a little cliche at the time, but it really hit me as I got older. And it was good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is your better and your better is your best. So that to me was impactful in a way to say, hey, I've been the captain of my team. I've been the leading scorer. I've hit the game-winning shot. I blocked the field goal to save the game. All those moments, that put you in the press. All those things, people talking and cheering about you after the game, da da da. But for me, it was always about helping other people. It was always about helping the team win, not just about me. And again, I use that in my everyday life. That I'm a business owner, not to be in business for myself, but to help the other people around me, to
Yeah.
help them win and to grow my team.
Yeah. So have you ever experienced though anything from that competitive mindset that, do you feel like that's hindered or hurt you at all in business? Some other people I've
Yeah,
interviewed have said like it's sometimes it's hard to work for me, things like that. I'm just curious if you have any insights into that side of the question.
and not to reiterate, but it's a double-edged sword in the sense
Yeah.
of when I talk about repetition,
Yeah.
I'm a person where I'm gonna be like, did you call again? Did you follow up? Like, however, people don't really want to get asked too many times about a long-term care policy or an investment proposal that they're not quite sure about. And most of the time, they're unsure of what they're saying no to. However, you still have to overcome those objections. And in doing so, repetition can sometimes strain a relationship. So having to find that balance of, okay, do I follow up in a week or do I give them some more space and do what we call a slow drip and pick back up with them later? So finding that balance has been key for me because in my mind, I'm like, oh, I did the reps yesterday. Let's do them again today. Let's do them again today. when you're dealing with real people, they're like, Travis, why do you keep calling me?
You're like, go,
Keep
go, go, go,
calling me.
go. And you're like, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, or whatever you need, I'm here. And I hear that though. I can see that where that drive is, that's just, that's that sports coming out in you of, we practiced a play or we ran a play, we're going to run it again, we're going to run it again, we're going to keep running it until it's perfect. And yeah, I can see
And
that
the other thing
completely.
is, I think, Julie, is I know, and not saying, that I put myself in a coach role, but I know the play.
Yeah.
I know how it's supposed to execute. And I see something in you, or I that person that said, you are the right person to run this play. When a coach draws up a play, he has a player or an objective in mind
Yeah.
most times. So I'm letting them know, they're like, hey, I'm not just trying to tell you something. I'm not just trying to get money from you. I see how this play can change your financial picture, your current financial picture now, and your financial future.
Yeah. That is drawing up those plays and knowing how they run. You're like the quarterback, knowing how where everybody needs to be at all times. So it's
Yep,
something that
yep.
in business for sure. So Travis, have you ever? I'm curious about this. Have you ever experienced burnout, either in sports or in business?
I will say that I have been blessed to never suffer any injuries that were severe, no broken bones, no surgeries. I've always been known as Hammerhead, the person that was full of endurance. I mean, I can't make this up. A guy was just telling me the other day that I hadn't seen in quite some time. He was like, "Hey, you remember when we were fifth grade and we had to do those fitness tests?" He was like, "And when we ran the mile, he's like, it's almost like you were touching the car the whole time. Everybody else was like, how's he so far up there? How's he keep running so fast?" So for me, endurance has just been a part of my nature for quite some time. However, what I've learned, aside from just being able to endure through athletic events, but endure through hard times, I'm learning in business to actually slow down, to run at about 90% instead of running at 100%. Because what I've learned being a hammerhead is that sometimes when I run at 100%, I actually might miss something. And then I might actually have to go backwards. And now I'm having to waste more time than I would have had I just ran at 90% and took my time. So I know that I'm competent in what I do. And that's why I'm like, oh, I can do this, I can move here. But then I'm like, okay, now let's slow it down so
Yeah.
that we can be more efficient.
So on the heels of that, are there mistakes that maybe you've made in business because you were going so fast that you look back at now and say, "Man, if I had slowed down a little bit, I probably would have done that differently."
No question. I would say in my line of business, I have a lot of calling to do. Some cold calls, some warm, some people that I talk to all the time, right? But with that, there's conversation. And through conversation, there can be objections. And I have to fend off those objections with resolutions. So there can be, some times where it can be like, do I need to press forward? Do I need to let off the gas a little? How do I find that balance while running my business in a profitable way, but also understanding the needs and the balance of society
Yeah.
and people?
Yeah. Hey, you're watching the Game of Leadership. I'm the host, Julie B, and I'm here with Travis McClenny, and we are talking all about business and burnout and running too fast and slowing down a little bit in business. And there is definitely a time. I think what I always say, Travis, is patience is how you get things done more quickly, because you have to be able to wait for some things to come to you. Sometimes you have to be able to attract things to you. Sometimes you just cannot push anymore. And I've really had to learn the art of being patient sometimes and waiting for some things. Not that I'm not doing anything while I'm waiting, but there are just some things that come up in business where you have to wait for some things to develop for sure. So one thing I wanted to ask you is about team and how important team has been in your career, both as an athlete and as a business professional.
Yes. So team, I don't again, teamwork makes the dream work. I hate to sound so cliche, we hear this all the
Oh, that's a good one,
time.
though.
At the end of a timeout, we put your hands in, 1, 2, 3, team. that kind of thing. 1, 2, 3 team, family on six, all those kind of things. So we
Mm-hmm.
hear team, team, oh, hard work, no excuses, da 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 da. Well, to me, it's been so impactful because my village has always supported me. Now, it's been different villages, right?
Mm-hmm.
From grade school to college, different universities, and then in real life. But what I'm understanding goes back to an African proverb that I refer to as Ubuntu, which means I am because we are. And it brings us all together through, humanitarian, being humanitarians. So for me, I know that as fast, as smart, as courageous, as outgoing, as all these great things and skill sets and traits that characteristics that I bring to the table, I am nothing without the support of my team. So at this moment, I even like to say, thank you to Justin and to Derek at Big Life Financial for even connecting me with me.
Mm-hmm.
For connecting me with you, Julie
Yeah.
B. Because again, that's the power of my team. That's
Yeah.
the power of my network. That I may have crossed paths with Julie B, but because I have some people on my team
Mm-hmm.
that support me and want to see me win, they say, "Hey, we think you should get connected and share your story." And we have this cool podcast that Julie B is doing, and boom, and here we are today speaking about leadership through athletics, through entrepreneurship, and that's what the power of a team can be and do. And that's why I am always going to try to surround myself with good teammates. I don't ever want to be an island. I don't ever want to
Mm-mm.
be a one man band. I love community.
And you said something really interesting when you first started talking about team. You said village. And you might be one of the first people that I've interviewed on here that has said that. And the reason I find that interesting is we often think of our teammates as the people who are, we're either working with or playing a sport with, but we are all playing the game. We are all playing whatever you want to call it, the game of life, the game of leadership, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like the sooner that people realize that we're all on a team that's playing a game, the
Yep.
more impact you can potentially have in your communities. I think a lot of they I'll be cliched here, Travis, and say there's no I in team. And I think when you say village, that's just such a bigger concept of team than I think most people think of. And I appreciate you for bringing it up today here on the show.
Yes, indeed.
So, Travis, how do you define success these days?
That's a great question. And I'm going to dovetail just off of the last
Yeah,
question and then segue right into this question.
sure.
Because one of the things that I believe about having a good team is success leaves clues.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when I think about success, that's not saying that I'm in comparison mode with other
Mm-hmm.
people, but I understand that if someone is executing on a high level that I want to execute
Mm-hmm.
on, if someone is reaching their business and entrepreneurial goals and I want to do the same, I should probably try to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
I should probably try to figure out how to model that formula for success. And that model and that equation of success and that outcome of success is different for everybody. And that's what I love too. And I have a phrase that I use as an athletic director that I was stealing to my coaches because I was involved with the students, but I was more so leading the leaders, coaching the coaches. And I would tell them, oftentimes about just how competitive success can be defined in different ways. Competitive success may not end in us having more points than the other team. But if we got better today than we were yesterday, there's some value in that. There is a competitive success mechanism that can transition into your mindset to say, hey, okay, I have to keep putting one foot in front of the other because I am getting better. I may not see the small steps in the interim. We lost Tuesday, but hey, okay, we're going back at it again on Thursday. That keeps you going. Famous, basketball player that I love dearly, Kobe Bryant, has a tagline about Mamba mentality,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Mamba mentality is not about winning every game. Mamba mentality is about getting better every day, and that's what I believe defines competitive success. And again, when we talk about life in the real world, competitive success, you can measure it however you like, but it needs to be, something that is measurable. You can't just be like, oh, I'm successful and just hanging out at the
Yeah.
park every day. No, how do you measure? How do you define that success? And then again, the way I started, are you leaving any clues for anyone else to be successful to come behind?
Mm. That's a great answer. I'm like, I don't even know how to follow that up because it's such a great, the success leaves clues. I've never heard that before. And that is It's very true when I think about it, how the people that, before we got on here, I was talking about what I'm looking to do right now, which is sell sponsorships for the show. And obviously I'm looking at like other successful podcasts and YouTube series to see what they're doing and how they're doing it because, yeah, it leaves clues, and you just gotta you've got to be willing, if you're seeking that out, to be the person who finds the clues and actually then tries to use those clues to help you get to where you want to go. That's a really great way to put that. So, Travis, one thing I
You
want
know,
to
too, Julie, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. Yeah, no, go
I
ahead.
just want to, my brain is going.
Yeah,
You said something that sparked me as well.
yeah.
When I was thinking about, man, I just lost it for a second. So I'm sorry. I'm going to let you continue.
It's fine. I do want to talk with you about youth sports, or just sports in general, because I know that you played competitively, and then you went on, you were a coach and you were an athletic director, and I would love to hear
Yeah.
your insights into just anything about getting more kids involved in competitive sports. And before we got on here, or you mentioned AAU, and my own story is my family did not have the money or the village to put the money into me playing AAU basketball when I was a kid. So, yeah, I would love to hear just your take on that. Any insights you have into how we can all work towards that vision of having more kids in sports at a younger age.
Yes, indeed. So I will say I love this question. I'm what you call a Raven fan for athletics. Not a Baltimore Raven fan, but a Raven. I'm not sure if people are familiar, but a Raven fan is someone that they just love advocating and telling people about you or about what you do. So
Mm-hmm.
I love creating Raven fans. But I am a Raven fan for athletics.
Mm-hmm.
So although I went to college and played some basketball, football and track are in my background, but all sports are really what I'm passionate about. And why am I passionate about it? I say that before I even get into why I'm passionate about it, I want to talk just briefly about my education,
Yeah.
just to drill down how serious this is. This isn't just like, oh, I'm a sports guy, da, da, da.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I went to my principal and athletic director and let them know that I want to be an education based athletic director. I established that because I saw the value that my coaches gave to me. Again, my parents worked all the time. They were in cosmetology, beauty and barber salon, always having appointments. And if you think about Fridays and Saturdays, most people are in there
Yeah.
getting their hair done, and most kids are at the soccer field or at the track or at the basketball court. So my coaches taught me when my parents weren't around. They helped fill in the gaps. So it was more than just actually playing a sport. I haven't even got to the sport part yet. I've just got to the positive male, female people,
Mm-hmm.
role models that are in my practice, that are in the huddles, that are riding on the bus with us, that are instructing us when we're eating and goofing off. Those are the moments that impact you just as much as running up and down a field for drills or understanding a concept for a play. So I went to college at Hampton University and studied sport management. From my undergrad, I went to Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, and studied kinesiology with a focus on athletic administration. Again, I am passionate about athletic administration.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a player at heart.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I still try to keep going,
Yeah.
but I have always been passionate about the administrative side because I see the impact. Again, growing up, I played flag football, pop Warner football, tackle, all that stuff, and it was cool. It was great. But what was most exciting to me, going to the concession stand after the game, working in the concession stand line, seeing other people come, putting smiles on their faces.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys have enough people in concession already? Do you need me to hold the change? Do you need me to hold a down marker? Now I'm a kid, I'm a student athlete, but now I'm in a leadership role
Mm-hmm.
because the referees are talking to me about moving the chains. Because the women and men that are in the kitchen are talking to me about how to give change and how to extend customer service,
Mm-hmm.
right? So all these things that I learned through sport, and I said, hey, I have to be able to teach someone else. I've got to be able to tap into the next generation. So although I mentioned it about being on some coaching, I don't want to be a coach, and that's no disrespect to coaches.
Yeah.
I want to coach the coaches
Mm.
because I know that the value that they have on the impact and the impact that they can create on their individual players.
Yeah.
So to me, that's my passion for athletics. And
Mm.
I encourage parents, guardians, even if you're like me, I have no children of my own, but I have
Hmm.
nieces and nephews. They're going to be involved with sport,
Yeah.
because I see the value in it. So even sometimes, again, when someone may not be able to see something for themselves, sometimes we have to be able to just start those conversations or sign someone up, be a part of someone's village,
Hmm.
help sponsor someone else,
Yeah.
help someone else break through, because that's what I'm about to do in the sense of helping others break through. That's what I am doing, so to speak, right? Because it wasn't me. I might have been fast. I might have been strong. Sure, I worked hard. Now
Hmm.
there's some things that you have to have, that you have to develop to be a successful athlete. Don't get me wrong, especially at a higher level. And I can really dig into that too, as I've trained some Olympic athletes. I have friends that play at a professional level. I know that there's a different level for that. But what I am so passionate about is that everyone can win at life. And oftentimes you learn those core values through youth sports.
Yeah. That is such a critical. Everyone can win at life. I think one of the biggest things I took away from sports was that it's really hard to play sports and then also be in that a victim mentality where somebody's causing me my problems. It's when you are competing and when you play sports, you learn that it's on you, and of course you have the support of your coaches and your team and all of that, but like at the end of the day, you're the one that's getting up at 5:30 in the morning. Like you've got to get out of bed, go to practice at 5:30 in the morning, or whatever the case may be. But I think what that does is it sets you up to help you win at life, and it also sets you up to help other people win at life as well, which is a really important thing. And be a leader. I mean, that's basically one of the things about being a leader is that you want to win, but really you want the people who you're leading to win probably more than you even want the win yourself. And that's something that I've just learned in leadership along the way.
No doubt. And to me, a word that comes to mind when I think about leadership is to be a catalyst, right? And that's what I ask myself just about every day, as I'm going through my daily affirmations, and then I ask myself certain questions to prime my spirit for the day.
Hmm.
And one of the questions that I ask myself is, um, who are you going to catalyze today? Or who are you going to try to help move forward in some way? Because as much as I enjoy running my business, I understand that the more I help people, the more it fuels back to me. The more I give time, resources, energy to others, the more it comes back to me.
Travis, I tell you what, I have so enjoyed this conversation, but I have got to start wrapping it up because my editor is going to be like, "You're going over again, Julie."
Sorry,
So,
sorry.
no, it's fine. I could talk to you. I could probably talk to you for an hour or more, but I do want to ask you. This is the last question I ask all my guests: is what leadership trait or skill did you learn as an athlete that you think has helped you the most as a business person?
If I had to put it, and there's so many life lessons again too, and I don't want to get long. I know we're pressed on time here. Um, I would say the word that summarizes it all is discipline.
Mm,
It's a word that was preached early on. Didn't quite know what it mean. I really just thought, people were being mean and they wanted to just follow directions and do what they
yeah.
said. But it really meant so much more to me when I understood the concept of having discipline. And not only discipline to do what the coach said, not
Hmm.
only discipline to wait for the ball to snap before I take off, but self-discipline, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, to get up and prepare myself for school. Because if I'm not a student, then I may not be able to be an athlete. Or if I'm not a good son, if I'm not a good person at home, then I may not be able to make it to the game because my mom set me out sometimes to teach me that I was going to be disciplined
Yeah.
and that there was going to be consequences for my action. So
Yeah.
that to me stuck with me. So now in life, I'm not perfect, but I am very disciplined.
Yeah.
When I say I'm going to be somewhere at a time, I am there before that time. When I give someone my word, I follow through. And I expect the same in return. And that's where it comes down to that kindness and respect that I led off with.
Hmm.
And it ultimately is a combination. We put those two things together. That's discipline. It takes discipline to be kind to someone, even if they're not kind to you. It takes discipline to respect authority when you feel that you are the one, and being victimized. So discipline for me has been a solid piece of my athletic and lifestyle.
Travis, I have so enjoyed this conversation today. I just want to thank you again for being on the show, and I know our listeners are going to really enjoy this as well. So thank you for your time and all your knowledge and wisdom you've dropped today on the show.
Yes, indeed. And in closing, I like to just leave a quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes, and he says, "Once a mind has been stretched and expanded, it can never go back to the way it was before." So I hope that those listeners take something from this conversation and it opens and stretches your mind, and you'll never be able to be the same again.
And that is it for this episode, but stay tuned because I'll be back soon with more conversations and leadership lessons from athletes turned entrepreneurs. I'm Julie B, and thank you for playing the game of leadership.